The WCQ events just happened. Let's talk. Before I start though, a huge shout out to Sam from Team Sam X1. Honestly guys, he's such a great and nice guy, but especially he's a lot more skillful and better in the game than a lot of people give him credit for. And we came up with a plan to defeat the Mirror Match and especially Fiendsmith Snake Eyes. But what happened? I mean, I don't know. I originally thought, okay, Snake Eyes Fiendsmith is probably very close to tier 0, and even if not, there's still the chance to play against the Mirror Match, but before I talk any further, let me just show you my matchups. Okay, I wrote it down. Tenpai, 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 Snake Eyes Fiendsmiths, Tenpai, Ritual Beast, I do think that was Herman, Snake Eyes Fiendsmith, Tenpai, Tenpai, Runic Stun. I was this close to tweak completely. I mean, I couldn't see any more Shifter, Purulia, and especially Kokamero Drago blah blah blah. I mean, it just wasn't a fun experience to play against that stun deck. And yes, my tournament experience, if you lived through that, you also would call Tenpai a stun deck. It wasn't fun at all. And naturally, if you prepare a lot for a specific deck, I'm talking about main deck space, extra deck space, and even side deck space, and you don't see that deck at all or only 1 or 2 times, and instead see the literal counter to all of those strategies, it's hard to perform. So in short, my deck building simply was punished. I mean, I played against a lot of decks where a lot of my tech choices they were completely useless. But I do think I just got very unlucky because a lot of my friends faced a lot more Snake Eyes than I did, but I don't know. As I go through the deck, I will talk more and more about the plan Sam and I created to fight off the meta. And I can spoil one thing, all the time I could play, it worked wonderfully, so there's that. Check out Sam's video about his NAWCQ experience if you want to learn more from his perspective. First we begin with a playset of Dark Beckoning Beast and 1 Chaos Summoning Beast, and I know what you're thinking. How could you play 3 Beckoning Beast in a format where Drawl is basically in almost everyone's main deck? And the reason for that is simple. I got drawled a lot during this tournament, but I never lost due to that. Even with Drawl in the format, Beckoning Beast is a good card. Thanks to a lot of other cards I included more than a lot of other people have in their deck in my deck. The times where you don't get drawled, it's just an excellent one-card combo, and even if you get drawled, your hand has to be very bad for Drawl to stop you completely. So bad that basically any other hand trap would have done the same. I will explain that a lot more as we go through the deck, so keep watching. Summoning Beast is basically just there to transform opening of the Spirit Gates into a good one-card combo. Here and there it can be good to draw it on its own, but in general it's of course not a good draw because it doesn't do anything on its own. Still, I do think it's worth it to transform opening into a good combo. A playset of D Lotus, and that card is completely broken. A lot of people think that Beckoning Beast or opening is a better one-card combo than Lotus, because we basically just looked at the OCG, and the OCG, they don't have the new toys that we have, being the TCG exclusives, Aerial Eater and Necrocrypt Princess, and I can tell you that 1 Lotus with the new TCG exclusives can reach the same endboard as 1 Nightmare Throne does. Yes, literally. To help you understand what I just said better, Lotus is a better one-card combo than Beckoning Beast and opening, and if it resolves, you basically just win. A playset of Squirmer, and I do think that's the first big difference in comparison to a lot of other Yubel decks. Me and Sam, we talked a lot about that, and we came to the conclusion that, especially in a format where any 2 buddies, thank you Moon of the Closed Sky, or where a lot of people just play 20 or 21 hand traps, a card like Squirmer that can help you to play through a lot of stuff and establish a lot more buddies to the field is very valuable. It performed very good. I mean, it helped me to play through a lot of hand traps, and one example, if you get drawled on Beckoning Beast and you have Squirmer in hand, you can still put up an endboard that is almost unbeatable. It's crazy. The Yubel package, 2 Spirit of Yubel, 1 OG Yubel and 1 Terror Incarnate. To be honest with you, if I could, I would probably cut Spirit down to 1, but then there is a big chance that if you draw Spirit and Lotus together, that Lotus is only there to special summon one OGU Bell to the field, and that is just a risk I don't want to take. One OGU Bell and Terror Incarnate basically float targets and targets to fuse into Phantom, and I do think it's good. I see a lot of people talking about cutting Terror Incarnate, and while you can do that, it can create some awkward scenarios, and in my testing and even in the WCQ event, Terror Incarnate wasn't a problem at all. Even the opposite is true, it helped me a lot. The OGU Bell also, so I do think that is the minimum package. Maybe you can cut one Spirit, but you have to be careful with Lotus. But other than that, that's the minimum package I would advise you to run. Please don't play Ultimate Nightmare, it's not worth it. Then it's definitely too much. But Terror Incarnate, in my opinion, it just helps the deck too much to cut it. One Shavara, we can't play more than that because of the ban list. For whatever reason, Shavara is still limited, but even if we could, we probably wouldn't play more than one. Shavara is good at one. One Lurie, it's a good card, it's even a good normal summon in most situations, and it synergizes pretty well with the Beckoning Beast engine and opening, because you can discard it to revive another monster and then Lurie will trigger to basically have two bodies out of opening of the Spirit Gates. A playset of Engraver, and let me just tell you that every time I could play, I won. That card or that engine is completely insane. Burn damage, extender, a good one-cut combo, going second action, it literally has everything you can wish for. They smoked some heavy shit designing that engine, that's all I'm going to say here. A playset of Nightmare Throne together with one terraforming, so basically 4 copies, and I already told you that Samsara now, thanks to the new TCG exclusives, has the same ceiling as one Nightmare Throne does, but still, Nightmare Throne has some nice perks Samsara just doesn't have. You can just grab Dark Beckoning Beast or Squirmer instead of Lotus, and even more important, you can destroy one Spirit or one Jubel even if you want Terror Incarnate on the field from the deck to have an extender on the field, or, if you want to, even an early Phantom of Jubel to play better through hand traps, so it has a lot more versatility than Samsara. A playset of opening of the Spirit Gates, it basically has the same combo potential as one Dark Beckoning Beast, but it plays better through hand traps, so it's a good playset, a good 3-off. One Tracked and one Nightmare Pain, and I feel like I have to say something here. Yes, having 2 Nightmare Pains can be good in some scenarios, but especially in a format as quick as the one we have currently, I do feel like having 2 Nightmare Pains more often than not just hurts. I tested that format with both Nightmare Pain at 2 and only with 1, and I came to the conclusion that you don't really need the second one. Let me explain. If you go through your full combo and you have Nightmare Pain on the field, it doesn't really matter if it gets destroyed, because if it gets destroyed you can just put it back to the hand with opening, or if it gets banished, because you already have a lot of grind game in your graveyard that you can go for game or establish a board that is unbeatable again without having Nightmare Pain available to you. Fiendsmith is just that strong. And honestly bro, if we can have more room in the main deck or in any form of deck, side deck, extra deck, literally anything, I just take it. You only need one, it performed well, I never needed a second one. I only play one Tracked because it's only a one-cut combo if you play Muckraker, and spoiler alert, I'm not playing it, so I don't need more than one. Now we get to the spice, if you can even call it that, and yeah, I'm not playing any hand traps. My problem with hand traps in the current format is completely just Fiendsmith. For example, Snake Eyes. They normal summon Ash, you imperm that. They special summon Witch, you Ash or even imperm it again. They now link into Moon of the Close Sky and have full combo anyways, and that is besides the fact that they play cards like Crossout Designator in the main deck, and I'm not taking that risk. If you want to consistently beat Snake Eyes or even Jubel with hand traps, you on average need to see 3 hand traps, and if you only can play like 12 non-engine, it's not worth it. The chance that you only draw 2 or even 1 is way higher if you can't play as many hand traps as Snake Eyes can, so on average you will lose the hand trap war, and with just 2 or 3 cards in hand you can immediately scoop because you are not breaking a Fiendsmith board with that. But sadly, that doesn't mean that board breaker are necessarily a better solution. If that would be the case, everyone would just run board breaker instead. No, there are a few problems and risks even attached to board breaker. First problem, one is never enough. I mean, in comparison to the hand traps, you can have one in hand and just top deck the other one. That is a possibility and that will happen a lot. But there is still another problem. Even if you resolve both board breaker, there are still a lot of hand traps and card interactions Snake Eyes have. And yes, Yubel can play through a lot. Maybe you can even play through the Princess, IP and 1 or 2 hand traps. I will not deny that. The problem is, if you get hit with all of that, the chances that you can go for game or establish a board that is strong enough that they won't recover from that is very, very low. So you basically just lose anyways. What is my solution for that? You can't see that right now, but I tried to drag it a little bit. Yes, change of heart and a playset of mind control. Why the hell am I playing that? Originally I wasn't the biggest fan of them. I mean, take control-like effects are really bad in the current format if they are the only thing you have, because they will establish nothing. Then I thought a lot more about that statement, and isn't that the case for almost everything? It doesn't really matter if you see one hand trap or only one board breaker. If your opponent won't mess their combo up, you will lose. Regardless of what the board breaker or what the hand trap is, one is rarely ever enough. But then I tested the mind control and change of heart cards a lot more and they go kinda hard in the current format. Yes, you still need to see more than that. You need 2 mind controls or maybe the best combination, Forbidden Droplet and mind control or change of heart. You still need that. It won't solve that problem. But what it solves is the need of you having endless amount of gas to still play through hand traps or the Princess IP, stuff like that. Why is that? The reason for that is that the prime target for mind control and change of heart is Apollousa, and let me tell you one thing. All of the Fiendsmith decks, especially Snake Eyes and Yubel, they all have like almost every combo ends on Apollousa. Let me just phrase it that way. So if you open mind control and Forbidden Droplet, for example, mind control target Apollousa, they chain Desiree to negate that and you just chain Droplet. So you basically dealt with the board, you have an Apollousa on your side to deal with hand traps or the IP, and if you have a little bit of gas, it's entirely possible to break the board or at least establish an end board that is strong enough so that they won't recover. Even going first, I mean, I don't have to tell you, hopefully, that Talents is good going first, but even Change of Heart and Mind Control are kinda good going first, since everyone is basically running Bestials, and let me tell you, I gladly take a level 6 extender. That happened a lot and it performed well. I liked those cards very much. So that was basically the plan we came up with, and I can tell you that much. Every time I could play, even going second into a board, for example against Fiendsmith Snake Eyes, I won that game. Like every time. But still, even if that strategy or plan works well against Fiendsmith strategies, if you don't play against a lot of those, you can get punished by doing that, and that exactly happened to me. Instead of Snake Eye Ash, I saw a lot of Shifter, Koa Chimero Dragos and Purulias, and let me tell you one thing, Tenpai just doesn't care about any of that, and I felt that. And even if I won most of my Tenpai matchups, the one I lost was entirely because of my non-engine, and I just got punished by building my deck wrong, because I expected a lot more Snake Eyes or Yubel Fiendsmith, but for some reason I rarely ever faced any of them, so yeah, there's that. One Unchained Trap, and yeah, we sadly have to play that. Now to the extra deck, and oh boy, I know you want to say a lot of stuff after seeing that, but let me explain. A playset of Phantom of Yubel, and if you watched my previous videos, you notice that I rarely, if even ever, play a playset of that. Why did I change that? The ability to spam Phantom of Yubel without caring too much about the ratios in your extra deck is, I do think, very valuable in the current format. It's an extender that can help you to play through interruptions if you need one more body to link off, for example, and what a lot of people will do against Yubel, since they know for a long time in the combo they just have one Phantom on the field, they will just hold Nibiru in combination with Veiler or Imperm, and they will just use the target negation on Phantom, and after that they will use Nib basically clearing the whole field. So what I did to combat that strategy against Jubel is to just out of nowhere in the middle of the combo summon a second Phantom of Jubel. And I'm really happy about playing 3 Phantom of Jubels. I do think it's correct, but not mandatory if you only have 2. It's fine at 2, but it's also good, can be very good at 3. Everything else is basically standard stuff. Like, you need that, you can't really cut any of that. But once we reach Aerial Eater, I feel like I have to explain a few things. I'm not playing Beatrice or Muckraker since I do think the 2 new exclusive cards are just the same but better. What I mean by that is that they basically fit into the same role as Muckraker and Beatrice did, just being better in that because they don't have as many restrictions or they serve multiple purposes. I never missed Muckraker or Beatrice, I was completely fine playing the 2 new exclusives. Caesar instead of Varudras, and that was one cut I was very uncertain of. I basically did that 1 or 2 days before I had to register, and I feel like it's better. To cut things short, Varudras post Fiendsmith is very awkward. Reason number 1, after Fiendsmith we play a little less level 10s in our deck. Reason number 2, it's a little bit weird to go into Varudras. Sometimes if you are going second, you have to play unoptimal or go out of your way actively to go into Varudras, and even then, if you end on Varudras and Phantom of Jubel, it's very awkward, since if you want to get all the value out of Phantom, you have to use Phantom first, so you have another target to destroy or float into if you destroy Spirit. If you have Spirit and the Ogio Bell under Varudras, what the hell are you destroying with Phantom? I mean, Terror Incarnate, we are not playing the 3rd form, and trust me, I will not play the 3rd form because of Varudras. So you have to use Phantom first, which can cost you the game. That literally happened to Sam. And having in mind that you have a lot more level 6 now in your deck than level 10s, I mean the 2 new TCG exclusives, Lacrima, even Shavara and all of the Fiendsmiths, it's way easier to go into Caesar. On top of that, I adapted every combo that ends on Varudras so you can end on Caesar instead, so you literally don't lose anything. I never missed Varudras once, and I never lost because I didn't have it in my extra deck or something, and on top of that, Caesar is literally a one-man army. If you have it on field and your opponent doesn't have an immediate out to it, you can basically beat your opponent just by using Caesar. It's crazy. My side deck, and I know it looks very weird, but let me explain. The biggest problem, or one of the bigger problems Boardbreaker have with them, is not necessarily that you still need to fight against hand traps and stuff, no. It's that if your opponent knows you are on Boardbreaker, they will try to Beatrice FTK you, and you can't really do anything if you are on Boardbreaker. So Sam and I thought, okay, what can we do against the Beatrice FTK? Simple, we just smoke screen into hand traps. And it performed surprisingly well. I mean, I literally won one of my Snake Eye matchups, one of my few matchups, because I surprised him with hand traps once he was about to go into Beatrice, so that worked great. And on top of that, if you are going first, you can side out some Boardbreaker like maybe Mind Control or Dark Ruler for hand traps, so you have that if you go first. It worked completely fine. Dogwood in the current format is basically a mini maxi. If you have 10 or even 15 minutes on the clock and you are going second, you can think about siding Dogwood. If you play against Fiendsmith and they start their turn and you throw a Dogwood into their face, trust me, they will think twice how far they want to combo. Even with 15 minutes on the clock, if they play into Dogwood, their turn takes a long time and then it's your turn and you play into their board with like 20,000 life points if they played into it, or even more, and trust me, you will go into time and you just need to establish a good defense even if you can't break their board and you still win. It's sadly a part of the game. I'm very happy about the performance of the deck. I mean, literally every game I could play, I just won. Our strategy to fight specifically against Fiendsmith also worked great. I mean, the few matches I had, every time I was going second, I just broke the board and won that game, so that has to hold some value. Sadly, Fate had something completely different for me in store. Instead of a lot of Fiendsmith Snake Eye and Fiendsmith Yubel matchups, I saw a lot of Shifter and Koakemero, ultimately punishing me by building my deck specifically that way. It happens. See ya.